Nando's built a global empire from South Africa. There are thousands of chicken restaurants around the world. Fast food giants, fried chicken chains, local takeaways on nearly every corner, but somehow, a small restaurant that started in South Africa managed to build something very different. Today, that brand has more than 1,000 restaurants across multiple continents and has become one of the most recognizable restaurant chains in the world. Its name is Nando's, and yet the most interesting part of this story is not the chicken. It's the strategy. Because Nando's didn't grow by copying the typical fast food formula. Instead, it built a global empire using branding, culture, and a very unusual business philosophy. This is the story of how Nando's turned a single restaurant in Johannesburg into one of the most successful global brands to come out of South Africa, the Discovery. The story begins in 1987 in Johannesburg, South Africa. A young entrepreneur named Robert Brozen was invited by his friend Fernando Duarte to try something unusual, a small restaurant serving Portuguese-style chicken. The restaurant was located in Rosettenville, a suburb of Johannesburg, and the dish that caught their attention was something many South Africans had never experienced before: PERi-PERi chicken. Chicken marinated in a fiery sauce made from African bird's eye chili. The flavor was bold, spicy, completely different from typical fast food. The two friends immediately saw potential, so they did something bold. They bought the restaurant. At the time, there was no plan for a global empire, just a belief that the food was special enough to grow into something bigger. The early expansion. In the early years, Nando's expanded slowly, very slowly. Instead of rushing to open dozens of locations, the founders focused on perfecting the experience. The food had to be consistent, the brand had to feel unique, and the restaurants themselves needed to stand out. Unlike many fast food chains that focus on speed and efficiency, Nando's wanted something else: atmosphere. Walk into a Nando's restaurant and you'll often see bold colors, African artwork, music, and a relaxed dining environment. This wasn't fast food, it was something in between. Not quite a casual restaurant, not quite fast food, a completely new category: the brand identity. One of the smartest decisions Nando's made was embracing its cultural identity. The brand proudly leaned into its Afro-Portuguese roots. The PERi-PERi sauce itself came from African chili peppers. The cooking style had Portuguese influences, and the restaurants often featured African art and design. This gave the brand something many global chains struggle to create: authenticity. Customers weren't just eating chicken, they were experiencing something different, something that felt unique, something memorable, and that emotional connection became one of the most powerful drivers behind Nando's growth. The marketing genius. But if the food built the foundation, the marketing built the legend. Nando's became famous for something almost unheard of in the restaurant industry.
Alright guys, so we've got the South African Nando's menu in front of us.
Bold, controversial, and often hilarious advertising for ads that poked fun at politics, celebrities, and cultural events. Many of these campaigns went viral. In South Africa especially, Nando's ads became part of popular culture. Instead of playing it safe, they embraced humor and controversy. And the result was enormous attention. People didn't just eat at Nando's, they talked about Nando's, they shared Nando's ads, they debated them. This kind of organic attention is something most brands spend millions trying to achieve. For Nando's, it became part of the brand's personality. The global strategy. But the real masterstroke of Nando's strategy came when it began expanding internationally. Most fast food chains follow a very aggressive model. Open as many locations as possible. Franchise rapidly. Flood the market. But Nando's did the opposite. Instead of rapid expansion, the company focused on controlled growth. They carefully selected markets where their brand would resonate. One of the most successful examples was the United Kingdom. Today, the UK is one of Nando's largest markets, with hundreds of restaurants across the country. British consumers embraced the peri-peri flavor and the unique restaurant experience. What began in Johannesburg was now becoming an international brand. Another important part of Nando's success is how it positioned itself in the market. Think about traditional fast food chains like McDonald's. They compete heavily on price, cheap meals, fast service, mass scale. But Nando's chose a different path. Instead of being the cheapest option, they focused on being better ingredients, better atmosphere, better experience. Customers were willing to pay slightly more because they felt they were getting something special. This positioning protected the brand from brutal price competition and allowed Nando's to maintain strong profit margins. The global empire today, Nando's has grown into a massive global brand. Restaurants in Europe, the Middle East, Australia, Asia, and of course, Africa. The company now operates in more than 30 countries, with well over 1,000 restaurants worldwide. What started as a small chicken restaurant in Johannesburg has become one of South Africa's most successful global brands. And it all happened without following the typical fast food playbook. The real lesson. So what is the real lesson behind Nando's success? It wasn't just the chicken, and it wasn't just the marketing. The real strategy was differentiation. Nando's understood something many businesses forget. Competing on price is a race to the bottom. But competing on identity, on culture, on experience, that's where real brand power is created. Instead of trying to be another fast food chain, Nando's built a brand people actually connect with. And that connection turned a small South African restaurant into a global empire. But now I'm curious, do you think Nando's success came mainly from the food or from the branding and marketing strategy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dive business stories like this one, subscribe to Income Royalty, because the next story might reveal the strategy behind another global empire.